part of the good stuff coming in would be somebody like this.
Chair,
Mr. Holman.
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
Ooh, okay. Tom Holman there speaking, as you can see, Tom Holman speaking to Congress. This was, maybe about a year or so ago, and it really is remarkable because he was taking no prisoners. He was talking with a very lefty style woman there, and she wasn't too pleased with him. I think it's worth watching the whole clip, right? Because this is the guy, ladies and gentlemen, meet your border czar. This is the guy who's going to be in charge of the border right now. I know him well. He's been on this program. He's been on my programs in different places over the years, and he's salt of the earth. He means what he says, and he talks a lot about the law of unintended consequences when it comes to border deregulation, which is what we've had. You've had no kind of system in order to prevent people from coming into the country illegally. You've encouraged all the illegals, and that comes with some pretty heinous consequences. He was trying to explain this to some of the Democrats in Congress about a year ago. I want you to take a look.
Chair,
Mr. Holman.
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
This is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms in the back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member of Congress.
We agree on that.
Fix it.
We agree on that, but I disagree. But I also disagree with your characterization of immigrants as prone to criminality.
People for 3 decades on this.
Gentlemen, time is.
Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Holman,
Look,
please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Holman. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr.
This gets good. Watch, because AOC comes on. And forgive me, this was actually during the Trump administration, not last year. This was while Trump was president, and they were in the way of allowing anything forward on the border. He was enormously frustrated. Listen.
Holman, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Holman!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
So the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended 0 tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as it is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
0 tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their parents.
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Holman, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Wow. This is the guy in charge of the border. This is the guy that Trump has just named as border czar. I mean, this is going to be what I want you to hear this. Here he is just a few weeks ago on 60 Minutes, Tom Holman speaking with the 60 Minutes reporter about the need for actually having a policy and moving forward with this. And she kind of gets tripped up.
One estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Oh my goodness. That was like no-go territory for the CBS lady. A little bit later in the show, I got to tell you what Sunny Houston is saying about that. Forgive me, Anna Navarra, all those View ladies. Anyway, here's one more clip of Tom Holman. This is just important because let it sink in that they mean business. I mean, they really do. Here he is at the RNC in 23.
Damn right. Because you're going home. I got another message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggled enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization, and he's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done.
Wow. You heard it. So that's a warning to the drug cartels. This is a new day. This is a new day. It's so much a new day that New York City, which is struggling because it can't handle the migrant population coming in, just came out with a brand new announcement on Friday.
News, the mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy, distributed debit cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels and allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York with no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food to 2,600 migrant families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week to cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up just going to waste. For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately. In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island is in the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams spoke.
Culturally relevant food. I mean, last I checked, if you're hungry, you'll eat. When we're bending over backwards, giving people $350 a week for culturally relevant food, I mean, we've kind of jumped the shark, ladies and gentlemen. So finally, New York City somehow feels empowered enough, that would probably be the mayor, who's in deep trouble with the Democrats, empowered enough to say, okay, we can't afford this. We're going to pull back. We're going to pull back because things are changing, and they're changing super fast, as we have discussed, all kinds of good things coming around. Well, this is the beginning of a major change as far as the border goes. You got Stephen Miller moments ago being named as the deputy chief of border policy. It's going to be a big focus for him, of overall policy. So Stephen Miller is super bright. I've interviewed him many times. He was running sort of this America First legal fund, which was trying to ensure that there was equity for all Americans and not just because of, say, the color of your skin. There was a lot of concern about that. Remember when somehow farmers were going up on the line if they checked a different box? Well, Stephen Miller said that's not fair, it's not constitutional. He's right, it's not constitutional because it's discrimination of other kinds. Stephen Miller just getting announced as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy for the Trump White House. Take a listen to him.
Border. Well, as I say sometimes, the immigration issue is extremely simple. The policies involved in fixing it are very complicated. The simple part is seal the border, deport all the illegals. Now, that's the short answer, right? You get in, you have two policy objectives that you proceed with utter determination on. Seal the border, no illegals in, Everyone here goes out. That's very straightforward. In terms of the policy sets to accomplish this, as President Trump showed in his first term, it's a series of interlocking domestic and foreign policies to accomplish this goal. In no particular order, just to rattle off a few fast, you have your Safe Third agreements, you have Remain in Mexico, finish the wall, you have robust prosecutions of illegal aliens, you do interior repatriation flights to Mexico, not back to the north of Mexico. It's very important. You re-implement Title 42. You have several muscular 212Fs. That's the travel ban authority. We did a few of those in the Trump administration. You would bring those back and add new ones on top of that. You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement. And then you also deploy the military to the southern border, not just with a mission to observe, but with an impedance and denial mission. In other words, you reassert the fundamental constitutional principle that you don't have a right to enter into our sovereign territory, to even request the asylum claim. The military has the right to establish a fortress position on the border and to say no one can cross here at all. Yes.
Just amazing. Amazing. We're going to get to the Jack Smith story in a second. But, you know, when you think about what's at stake here, I don't know if you guys saw this story, but it's a big one. It came out over the weekend. Turns out a FEMA official allegedly told workers, she's been fired, by the way, to avoid Florida homes that had Trump signs outside. So if you were a Trump supporter, then FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency supervisor, was allegedly ordering her subordinates to pass by your home. Marnie Washington is her name. This is a story that's come out according to the Post, and apparently she has been fired in the interim. Quote, "This is a clear violation of FEMA's core values and principles to help people regardless of their political affiliation," said a woman who's a FEMA administrator there over the weekend. And so thus they have fired her. A clear violation indeed. This employee has been terminated, and we have referred the matter to the Office of Special Counsel. So this was partly what Stephen, when he was on the sidelines for the last 4 years, Stephen Miller was fighting, this desire to retaliate against Trump supporters. I mean, heck, look at how they tried to retaliate against him because he's trying to do some things that actually might be beneficial. Frankly, I mean, the country overwhelmingly has decided it would be beneficial to the nation. So things like the border are going to be very, very much in focus. But think about what this woman was allegedly doing, passing by houses that had Trump signs. This is what Stephen's been working on, because you can't live in an environment that's all tit for tat. And you know, when are they going to get this?